Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, FEMTA participants. Gender equality is not just about empowering women. It is about creating a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. It is about recognizing that diversity in leadership, thought, and collaboration leads to stronger teams and better outcomes. Joining forces as allies helps to tap into a reservoir of strength and creativity that benefits us all. Without further ado, let me call on stage Shreenivas Kunte, who will moderate the illustrious panel on Stronger Together, Men and Women as Allies. Shreenivas works as Senior Lead Content and Automation at HDFC AMC. In this role, he leads HDFC AMC's work in the application of AI, automation and investment decision making. He has over 25 years of experience in various investment roles in India, Japan, Hong Kong and Singapore. Shreenivas was awarded the CFA Charter in 2003. He holds a Doctor of Philosophy degree from IIT Bombay and a certificate in investment performance measurement from the CFA Institute. All yours, Shreenivas.
Thank you very much for having me here today. It's a privilege. It's a special occasion for me. This is the first time I have to admit that I'm joining this really nice venue as well as the forum for empowerment, women empowerment. And the theme for today is Empower, Elevate and Excel. I think this panel is going to be between us and the dinner. So, and we've got about 45 minutes. But is the Josh still there, as Trupti Madam was saying? Is it still there? It is there. So we've got about 45 minutes for the panel, and I won't take even an extra minute from that, add to that 45-minute time frame. But we've got really, really good panelists. So we hope that all of us, including me, use this occasion to tap into their enormous wisdom. I would like to call on stage in the order of the last surname, Miss Anjali Forbes. Anjali is Senior Partner Transit. Please, ma'am, please join on the stage. Give her a big clap of hands. She is a Senior Partner Trans Search. She has got 4 decades of experience in the industry. Right now, she is, looking at the human aspect. Empowering the human aspects of careers. But she's also been doing things like she was. Please, ma'am, have a seat. She was at senior positions in CRISIL. She was also at ANZ Grindlays Bank, and she has got an MBA from Rhodes Island University. Give her a big clap of hands. Our next panelist is Alokita Jha. Alokita has been a big supporter of CFA Society India and CFA Institute activities in India. She's been a big supporter of the FEMTA program, as you would have heard some time back. Alokita is the head client proposition support at Fidelity Investments. She's over 2 decades at Fidelity. She's been a CAO at Fidelity. She's also looked at systems. She's also was an investment analyst, right? And she's a charter holder. Give her a big clap of hands. Thank you very much. Our next panelist is Meghna Pandit. She is the CIO IndiGrid. Over 2 decades of experience, investment experience, huge amount of experience. She is a veteran in private equity and investment banking. Big clap of hands, please. And last but not least, my dear colleague from HDFC AMC. He's the head of HR and CSR at HDFC AMC. I was telling somebody that he's built our organization brick by brick, meaning people by people. He knows every single. I know, but on my first day when we talked at length, he said that I've hired almost every single person in HDFC AMC. Alok brings huge amount of HR experience, and not just HR. He's been in different fields. He reads a lot. He also is a storyteller, and he also knows a lot of poems, Hindi poems. I hope he can have some of them, be it Ramdhari Singh Dinkar. He knows a lot. He's also a certified behavioral analyst. There are other certifications as well. He studied law, management, commerce. He's been around. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's start with this panel. We've got 45 minutes, of which I have already spent 5 minutes. We are going to have 3 rounds, right? Just to motivate, because the idea is for all of us, including me, to tap into their wisdom, their collective wisdom. Not just collective, individual wisdom as well. So these 3 rounds are for motivation. The first round is going to be on this theme the theme for this panel is Stronger Together, Men and Women as Allies. Now, I mean, I don't know what that means, but I mean, all of us know what that means. But it almost presupposes that people are not allies. So maybe that's the first thing to kind of motivate the discussion, and anyone can start. The second thing is empower, elevate, and excel. So how do we do that? And the third thing is, I remember from Trupti ma'am's talk, Har Ghar Fauji. So let's start with these 3 things, and let the questions keep coming, please. And if you wanted to raise a hand, please stop us. So may I begin with Anjali ma'am?
Hello, can you hear me? So thanks very much for that, Srini. Difficult to be the first one to start, but let me anyway do it. So I started my career in the 80s, and I'm not sure how many people were around then in the corporate world. But I think over the last 40 plus years, I think our generation has seen a leapfrogging in technology. But I think there's only been an incremental shift in the dialogue around diversity, equity, inclusion. And I remember when I went to do my MBA to the US, and this was in the early 80s, there were a lot of naysayers, society, telling my very progressive and supportive parents, "Ki aap kya kar rahe ho? You're sending your daughter to America? She's not going to come back. How are you going to get her married?" The visa officer denied me my visa the first time round. And he told me, he says, "If your parents are going to fund your education, how will they pay for your dowry?" Think about it. And today no one would dare talk like that. So that's been some shift, thankfully. But I think when we talk about men and women as allies, I think me, as well as my male, female colleagues, people I worked with through the years, I don't think we've ever thought about man, woman. We've never really thought about that. It's always been about treat people as people. You're a human being. How does it matter whether you're a man or a woman? And I have been fortunate. I've worked in 3 organizations during these 40 years, all in financial services, in India, outside India. And I think right through, the organization culture has played a very important role in ensuring an equity mindset. And what does that mean? That means that right person for the right role. Put your hand up for opportunities. If you're the right person, you have the right competencies, the right attitude, the skills, the confidence, and you have instilled in us a confidence that you can do it, go ahead. So I think that has helped me. Put your hand up for opportunities. So when I was in CRISIL as a 10th employee of CRISIL, at a time when India had opened up, and there was so much happening, financial sector reforms happening, AMFI had just been formed, SEBI had just been formed. We were like putting our hands up for everything. Who wants to be on the AMFI committee for developing benchmarks for non-traded debt securities? Hand up, we did it. So, there were so many opportunities that came our way, and it didn't matter whether it was a man or a woman. It was the organization leadership that believed in us, that believed that you can do it, and let's do it. So I think maybe my experience doesn't mirror everybody else's, but I think the underlying point is it's a mindset issue. It's an equity mindset issue which needs to change in a lot of situations. I think financial sector is a relatively more progressive sector, but I'm sure there are other sectors, be it advertising, be it other sectors, where people have actually experienced inequity. But mindsets have to change, mindsets have to shift. And only then can you harness the potential of individuals, irrespective of their gender, to be able to move ahead. So I believe mindset, organization, culture are very important to enable that progress. And I believe that while we are shaped by our past, by our family support system, by our culture, context that we've grown up with, our fears, our confidence, our courage are also equally important in influencing how we think, how we behave, and also the choices that we make. So with this, we need to make a shift, we need to accelerate that shift in building a more equitable society, maybe organizations need to have some affirmative kind of interventions to enable that shift. But I think we as individuals have to really drive this change. So with that, I hand over.
Thank you. Alokita.
I think I'll carry on your message, right? And hopefully we all agree that men and women as allies, or men and men as allies and women or women as allies, together, when we collaborate, we win together. I think that's the crux of it. And maybe I'll make it more contextual to my journey and give some examples, because there have been various decision points in my life, whether in my student life or my working life, where there have been various people whom at that point I did not think of them as allies, because the term was not as well spoken about earlier. But now I realize it's been their help, their support, their wisdom, their guidance, which did help me in various twists and turns in my journey. So I'm born in a family of 4 kids, 3 daughters and 1 son, where the sentiment was that the son is going to support the parents in future. That was the background as we started our lives with. But my father was very keen to make sure all of us get educated, and we all have our careers in different directions and fields. Now, after class 10, there was a decision to take whether we should take science or commerce, and historically, people would always expect you to take science if you're among the students who are like favorite of your science and maths as a subject that way. And that's where, through various discussions, I realized that I actually want to go into the world of finance. And at that point, it was again like 16 years, as Tripti was also hinting, and I took up commerce. My teachers, they had multiple conversations with my parents that, can you please convince her to take science? How can she take commerce? But my parents, they were with me. They said, you should take what you want to take. So that, and then of course, the decision to do CFA at a certain point in my life, that was also driven by people who had done the course and who were so confident about what it can lead us into. Then if I go on to my corporate life, and you give a very nice introduction, thank you for being so kind. I had spent around more than a decade in core investment role. And at that point, I always imagined myself to be a specialist, to be an investment analyst my whole life. I enjoyed it, I loved my job. After a point in time, I felt, there was a lot happening in technology. And it was a totally new space for me, around 8 to 10 years back. And there was a role in technology that came up, and I was discussing about the role, but I was very nervous. I was having a chat with the head of technology at Fidelity International at that point in time. And I said, what if I joined the role, and after a year, it doesn't work out for me. I'm not successful in that role. And I still remember what he said, that what's the worst that can happen? If it doesn't work out, you have credibility in your current function. You can join back that team. And that made me more confident about myself, because I felt he's taking more risk, getting somebody from investment into technology. And that's what kind of changed my mindset a lot at that point in time, that you should take risks. No gain without pain. And then at the same time, I'll try to keep it crisp. After a few years, loving the aspects of technology, how you can embed technology into investments, and then the CAO role came up. And again, I was wondering that, it's CAO for the India capability for Fidelity. It's a huge, huge role. Will I be able to do it? Again, my boss, the head of technology, he had become country head by then, and he told me that you're already doing so many elements of it. Why are you underselling yourself? Yeah? And then that made me take that leap and take up the role for the CAO for Fidelity International at that point in time, and so on and so forth. It's like at every key decision in my life, there've been people who have helped me out, and similarly, there are examples where I believe I have contributed to the journeys, to the success of many other team members or for people across the organization who would come up for guidance. And now they are doing terrific roles where I think I'll leave with the thought of how do we motivate people to leverage their full potential, which they may not have imagined for themselves. I think that's what it means, allyship for me, to support them throughout that journey. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Hi, sorry, Meghna, thank you, thank you.
Hi, my audio.
Yes, yes.
Hi, thanks. Am I audible now? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I think a very interesting topic that we have for the panel as well. And I think I am not going to be very, very gaga about men and women being allies. Certainly, I have also been from the finance background, and I think I resonate with what Trupti mentioned in terms of it starts in the family. Right, and again, I will say that I have been pretty lucky to have been born in a family with parents who have supported me throughout my journey in education, finance. I started off in investment banking. Investment banking as a role, I'm sure a lot of colleagues here will identify with me, and entails late nights, night outs for that matter. And I have been through that. But at the same time, I think what I have also experienced is, which I never realized when I was actually working, but later on, that certain biases do exist, right? And whether it is, while we were working, it never came to my mind. But as I grew in the career and as I grew up in the corporate stature or so, I started realizing that there are patterns, there are these biases which come about, and I will just name a few, which is essentially when a female employee is talking in meetings, she tends to get interrupted a lot, okay? And this is something which I have not seen with male colleagues happening, right? And it's something which is very weird, that in a room full of, or in a meeting where you are with women and men, a woman is making her point, and she gets interrupted, she gets questioned time and again, and you are on a back foot. This is a bias, and this is, to be very honest, this is something which is an unconscious bias. So I feel that this is something, these kind of things, getting aware of it, and then then working on it is something which I feel is very important. Allyship, certainly. Is it that men, in my career also, is it that men have not supported me? Certainly. All the bosses that I have had have supported me, but these kind of unconscious biases have certainly come forth, which started, when I started to think about it, that what exactly is happening. Insubordination at a leadership level in supposedly C-suite or whatever it is called, but a lot of insubordination happening from junior or men who are within the team, where again, unconsciously, it's not that that person is aware that he or she, or especially he, is is displaying insubordination, but that is what it is. So the female leader needs to continuously prove herself, and this is something which again, as I said, I think I am just going back to the fact of biases which keep coming. And in the context of men and women being allies, we need to think about whether we ourselves are displaying that. And if we are seeing something is happening, are we calling it out? In what way? So these couple of things do come to my mind when we talk about allyship between men and women for that matter. And I think as we move along, I'm sure we will talk more about it. And of course, mentor-mentee, what the CFA Institute is doing is really very amazing because it is required. And actually, as someone said, I'm also thinking when I appeared and when I was pursuing CFA course, why didn't I have that opportunity? But nonetheless, never better late than never. So I think I'll take a pause right now and
thank
more
you.
contributions as we move ahead.
Thank you. I do hope that you pursue the course. And by the way, the chair, sorry. Oh, you have? I'm so sorry. So we have to, Soumik, we know who to call this time, right? So by the way, the chair in between the three ladies and Alok, it's not on purpose. It's just that I'm standing up, but we are all allies here. Alok, sir.
No, I need you here standing behind me. Okay, so let me tell you what has gone behind the scene. You have seen the front office, let me show you some back office. So I received a message, communication from Anil that I have to be present here on this panel. Anil is a dear friend, so there was no option. Option 1, yes, and option 2, yes. So there was no option. I took topic very seriously. Okay, and I called immediately my senior colleague Munmun Roy and I said, there's something called allies. Why don't you show some allies and prepare presentation for me? So I took it seriously and she started researching all the topic. Then she came up with a research paper, a fantastic research paper, and it's quite learning. While coming, I was reading. But then I realized one training in my, when you handle the media and press, that they may ask you anything, you should speak what you want to speak. Right? So I am going to go with number 2.
Yes, sir.
Option 2. Then you asked about the Josh. I thought first you are asking Josh about the dinner. Then I thought it is about the panel.
Yes, it is about the learning.
It is about the learning. So in next couple of minutes, I will talk about what my take on the topic is. But पहले एक शेर सुना दो यार खाना भूखे से.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're all waiting for it.
So first, he gave very effusive introduction of mine. Shreenivas Kunte is a gift to HDFC from CFA Society. HDFC AMC has been really big beneficiary of CFA Society India. So my boss Navneet Manot is also a gift, and many more gifts I have received. But I can see potential gifts here. Some gifts could not convert into a gift, so they are treasure for future. They are the treasure for future. So my senior colleague Munmun Roy is here. She leads the talent acquisition for senior level and across the level, but especially senior level. So you know whom to get hold of during the dinner time, yeah? So she is the right person. Do take her card and give your card to her. And now after the marketing is over.
Yes, sir.
This is also a live boss.
Yes, yes.
So चला था जिक्र मेरी खामियों का महफिल में. चला था जिक्र मेरी खामियों का महफिल में. सुनाई उनको भी देने लगा जो बहरे थे. तो अब मैंने जब इन्होंने मेरी तारीफ की तो मैं उल्टा बोल रहा हूँ इसमें. चला था जिक्र मेरी तारीफों का महफिल में. बहरे वो भी हो गए जिनको सुनाई देता. Okay, on a serious note, of course I was serious before also. On a serious note, I would say, the fact is that US struggled to give voting rights to women for a very long time. And immediately after independence, there was no question whether women will vote or not in India. Okay? So in our ethos, I think women have always got prominent place, but somehow we distracted ourselves as a society. And time has come to, and time has already come, and I think I'm seeing a lot of transformation in the outlook of people. As being a part of HR team, I get to meet some of the very brilliant people and some of the sharpest mind in the country. And I'm seeing massive shift happening. And one thing is there, even look at the government scheme, for example, and this is not a political forum and nor I am a political person, but some of the things like, for example, triple talaq to Ghar Ghar Chulha Yojana and all that is what is the direction society is taking through political interferences, political intervention is to empower core of the society. And obviously, if India has to become a economic superpower, and I'm sure CFA Society and all of you will contribute to that, if we have to cross the $10,000 per capita GDP and become 20,000, I think you can't leave a significant part of the society behind. And I want to tell you that in my team, in HR, for 6 men, we have 24 women. So 1:4 guard is there. Okay, so we can't distract ourselves, right? So, couple of things which I think, for a minute I assume that corporate India is dominated by men, okay? While today there are regulations which say that you must have women independent director on board, people also measure the metrics of how many women are there in senior leadership team. Of course, some country leaders have given recently a blow to the entire DEI initiative, but I think the equation will over a period of settle in the favor of economic rationale and overall prosperity of society. Okay. So as we go forward, I will talk about 2 or 3 templates which will help both sides, men and women, to look at this entire matter slightly differently and maybe help us to establish a case why it would make a sense to be more objective, more purpose driven. Because one question Anil asked Tripti ji about what is common, and one thing I think is army and a corporate common, and to help them deliver superlative performance and exceptional performance and superlative outcome is driven by purpose. And unless organizations and leaders are driven by purpose, whether it is by protecting border or being the economic soldier to fund the protection of border and move the wheel of economy and create a financial independence to the nation, I think we will not be achieving our mission. So driven by purpose is very core and central, and being working shoulder to shoulder with women is also part of that purpose, and I think that's how corporates will achieve exceptional outcomes.
Thank you, Alokji. So let's just to motivate this discussion, right? If you see, ladies and gentlemen, there are 2 views emerging from this, right? Alokji is saying that there's been a direction in what has been happening in India, and the trajectory is positive. So I would like to understand anyone, right? Do you agree with that, Meghna ji?
Yeah, certainly. I think direction is, of course, there, and as we see that more and more organizations, in terms of the initiatives on the DEI front being taken, are certainly there. But I still feel that that is happening because it is still, there is a tick mark to be done. I need to have a DEI policy. I need to hire.
Right.
So there is always a start with which it happens. But I think this is more a question on reflection, that is the organization actually believing, is the culture actually in such a way that you believe in what you are talking about, or is it just a to-do or a tick mark? And I don't think there is any yes or no, or a wrong or a right answer. But directionally, certainly there is movement. It is certainly important. It is certainly moving in the positive direction. The statistics, however, still show that we saw, right, 13%. Even the women workforce across
labor participation,
less than 25%.
Yeah.
right? So the statistics are also showing some trend, correct? So there is this dichotomy in which we exist, in which we operate. And how do we better that, I think, is something that we will perhaps need to reflect and talk about.
Yeah. So now going to see if this panel can, in the limited time that we have got, and folks from this audience, especially Trupti ji and our honor guest today, her father, if they have any views, please share. But the point that you mentioned is an important point, right? You are mentioning that there are biases, there are patterns, and that you are seeing those patterns. So I wanted to see if anybody has got a view on that, and if there's a solution to that. Alok ji?
I think let's accept, yes, there are biases, no doubt about it. And many a times they prove right and many a times they prove wrong. Now the question is, how do we remove those biases? Okay? And what can organizations do to make decisions of appointing somebody or giving somebody responsibility or leadership position more merit driven? So I have, in my long career, I haven't come across any situation where I have been asked, or I have been asked by women or the leaders, that give somebody a role regardless of merit. So I haven't come across.
Right.
No woman has come across and told me, boss, regardless of merit, because I am women, give me position.
Right.
I haven't come across, I don't know others' experience.
Right.
And I have worked for multiple corporations.
Right.
So one thing is that everybody is asking what is due to them. And somehow, because of ABC reason, this either did not get due attention or they did not receive what is due to them.
Right.
Okay? So I was just looking at that. So there are two ways and two axes if you put one side low, one side high. And you plot, men and women there in the corporate world, where men think women are low and women also think they are low. Okay? Then you move here where men think women are high, have a capability caliber and can really crack the code, but women think they are low. Okay? And that low could be temporary also, not a permanent. Because let's say I have just delivered a baby, so next 5 years I am going to be low. Okay? You have programmed that. Then third is where men thinks women are low and women think they are high.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And last is where women think they are high and men think they are high.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's the preferred quadrant.
Yes.
Now journey of these all three quadrants is to move to that quadrant.
Yes.
And what are the templates, what are the frameworks, what are the initiatives everybody can take?
Yes.
Right from the government to corporates to, for example, yes, as simple as this. If in a property registration, if women is the first applicant, you will get X% lower rate. And
Yes.
that has been a policy for quite some time.
Yes. Yes.
And the government housing scheme, women have been given the housing. So in a way, these empowerments will really help the next generation's thoughts. And you try talking to the Gen Z people and say that we are going to discriminate for men and women, you will have it.
Yes. So let me go to Alokita, because she's talking about the people who have helped her grow, and these people have been good. So is there some secret sauce which you've learned from the warmth and the nurturing that you got from your parents or your folks at Fidelity? What is it that sets them apart, and how can this be democratized to others? First of all, do you agree on this divide?
So yes, and in fact, when I answer your question, possibly I start with that.
Yes.
And I mentioned about one of my allies who's helped me shape my career to a large extent, and his journey as well as my journey. So even at the start of my career, I used to get very agitated at this term about diversity and inclusion, women needing support, because I used to say we are all equal. Why are we, wanting to push a diversity agenda? So that was at the start of my career. But as I worked and as I saw, that there is a reason why we have these numbers. The reality is, at the start, we may still have a much higher participation of women in the corporates. But as we go up, the numbers decrease significantly. And then I started it made me think. So I had those unconscious biases. And the point where it was not unconscious anymore. They were not unconscious. They were, I consciously became aware that, okay, this is why it's happening. This is why possibly even I am doing something unconsciously with a bias. And my manager I was talking about, even he had gone through that journey. Because when we first did the D&I and unconscious bias trainings, we all started with saying, oh, I don't have any unconscious bias. I think I'm all fair. I treat everyone equally. But we all went through that journey. And then as we evolved, we realized that there are aspects and areas where people need extra push. Whether it's about a meeting, as you mentioned, there's so many times I've seen many women wanting to say something, and then somebody else says something, and then somebody else, and at the end of it, you realize she could not even make her point. Or in a virtual meeting, which we have many of them now, there are people who, you feel that they unmute themselves, and then there are 5 people who jump into it, and then, how do you make sure you make those underrepresented or underheard voices heard more?
Right.
I think as you become aware of the unconscious biases, and then that's the mindset shift. Then you don't need a policy, you don't need a tick in the box, because then you will genuinely believe in it. As you mentioned, the mindset, because then it becomes a culture. I think that's the journey that we truly have to go on. We won't really need any targets then.
Right. No, thank you. So I wanted to go to Anjali ji, and she's been talking about mindset. Probably she also meant patterns and biases. So the question that, please comment on that, but I wanted to understand if, just being aware of these things, is that a starting point for change?
Yeah, so, I think personally I have never experienced it, so I don't have a personal situation to talk about, except for the 1980-81 episodes. But I think my learning has been through the years that, and there are type A people all over. There are type A women, there are type A men, and they all shout over each other. I've seen that happen. But if you keep that aside for a moment, and what are the 3 or 4 things that one needs to focus on as a professional? I would say, first of all, build competency. Okay? Functional competency, leadership competency, be on top of your game, whether man or woman. Nobody can take that away from you. And nobody can question you on it. I think the second piece is really around treat people as equals. Many of us, we've grown up in different cultural contexts in our homes. If you really put your hand on your heart and say, if I didn't have the constraint of time or money or my little child, what would I be as a person? What would my spouse be as a person? And can I keep that aside and say, okay, if I have to help my spouse elevate, excel, do whatever, what is it that I need to do? I think these are the kind of questions people have to start thinking about, start reflecting on. Organization culture is very important. Join an organization that enables you. Join an organization that talks about equity and acts on it. The reason I feel I was successful in an organization like CRISIL, for example, is because the leadership actually walked the talk. There were men in our organization, there were young men in the organization who came from very traditional backgrounds. And when I say traditional, I don't mean in terms of which part of India, I mean in terms of mindset, where the women in their homes didn't really work, or were not allowed to work. But they also had to change, because the organization leadership did not tolerate anything else. I remember when I had my child, I was in the mid to senior level roles at that time. And I requested the organization to allow me to work half days. And the CEO said, fine, work half day from home, work half day from the office. Perfect. A few months down the line, I found that my salary was cut into half. I suddenly got a half paycheck. I called up the CEO. I said, why this? He was shocked. He says, I wasn't even aware of it. And immediately next day it was reinstated. So this is called walking the talk. We all have constraints. We all have challenges in life. And there is no such, I don't believe there's anything called work-life balance, to be honest. And that has been a big learning for me. I think it's more around work-life integration. There'll be certain times when work has to take priority. There are certain times when personal life has to take priority. But an organization or leadership that understands that and allows you, enables you, and you deliver. Important is to deliver. Take ownership, as you rightly said, take ownership for the outcomes. So as long as you do that, nobody can take that away from you. Now, how do organizations respond to that is by giving you enablers. And how do those enablers happen? They happen through shared dialogue. How do you create that shared conviction? It happens through dialogues, workshops, mentoring sessions. That is how awareness will increase as you go by.
Great point. So I'm aware that we are 4 minutes away from the 45-minute time set for me, and I yet don't have any questions. So either our panel is too boring, or you have run out of Josh. Which one of that is true? Or both? Please ask questions. Sorry? So why don't you give your first question, Nimisha? So think about it. But what I wanted to do is, as I want at least a couple of questions. So I wanted to go to the last bit of the thing. Like, you've already touched upon this, Anjali ji. Like, you mentioned what people should be doing. And Alok sir has given a good framework, high, 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 low, low, high, 4 different combinations. So how do men and women as partners, as allies, they can permanently go remain in that high, high quadrant. So what are a few heuristics? Like, you mentioned a few, Anjali, like, I could go around the table asking Alokita, Meghna and Alok also, like, what are the rules of thumb that people should follow?
I think in the workplace, from a career perspective, I would say collaboration is very important. Put up your hand to get onto collaborative projects. It heightens sensitivities. People work together. They learn to trust each other. They build confidence in each other. They build respect for each other. That helps. Taking ownership, accountability, very important. Integrity and trust is non-negotiable. Okay, because the reality is people do business, or people like to work with people whom they trust. So if you make a commitment, make sure you deliver on it. So I think these are some sort of very basic things that you need to sort of look at.
Yeah, thank you. So there's some questions now. Maybe, let me jump to the questions directly. And Indra Nui has got a good take on. There was a nice FT article on what she felt on her career. I hope all of you know her. So she mentioned a term, biology is against women. Now this question, I don't know who's given this question. People should just raise their hands. Thank you for the question. There are lots of questions in one question. So, asking, there are marriage plans, there are baby plans. How should people think about it? And, probably the questioner meant women, but I'm saying, why don't we look at both? So who wants to take this? Yes, sir. Yes,
No, I agree with, I mean, she has used the better sophisticated word biological clock, or biology rather. I used to use a very makeshift word called landmines, okay? So you have landmines where your spouse is getting shifted, you are getting married, you are delivering babies, you are also required or expected to be primary caregiver. So these mines, and they keep coming at least 4 to 8 times in your 20, 30 years of career. And it is not easy when at least 6 to 8 times you are pulled behind. Okay, so this is, yes, this is set against you. Now what is that, again coming to the topic here, what is that the boss can do or peers can do? So I have just drafted 6 C's, and those 6 C's can help us to be more mindful. I mean, we will not be trained here, but we will be more mindful to help enable and encourage our women colleagues. So one is, the most important is, it's difficult to communicate across with women. So men should be mindful of that. To have very open-ended conversation will help you to get better appreciation. Second is, the clarity is something which you can offer, and because your perspective, your worldview is different, the other side perspective and worldview is different, and two very honest conversation may make a great enabler for them to perform. Very important thing is collaborative. So we have to be collaborative with our women co-workers, and I'm sure both sides. I assume that collaboration or care comes naturally to women. Next is very courteous. We are not polite because our approach to male colleague and women colleague is same, and we all are work in progress. So we have to learn that. Compassion is something. The next is very, very important, because unless you bring complete passion, you will not be able to unleash that energy, which will create a multiplier effect for the organization. So I thought these are some of the actions which women or men could be mindful. And women bosses, it is very difficult to get datification from women boss for men. Itna aasan nahi hai. I have never had a women boss, but I wish I had one. But my peers and my team members are as good as my bosses. I learn a lot from them, and sometimes receive the good one also. So, but it's a difficult, but I think we all can work together. So I know it's going to be my last chance to speak. So मैं एक शेर सुना दूँ सर?
हाँ sir.
लिख के लाया बड़ी मेहनत से मैं. The message for women is, one is empower, elevate, and excel is not, nobody is obliging you. Okay, that's your prerogative, that's your right, and this is obligation of society to provide that opportunity where you do all 3 E's. परवाह न कर तमाशे होते रहेंगे ता उम्र. परवाह न कर तमाशे होते रहेंगे ता उम्र. तू ये ख्याल रख कि किरदार बेदाग रहे.
Wow. So Alok ji, this probably is not, I mean, how long do I have, because you've run out of time? 5 more minutes? 5 minutes. So there's lots of questions, and some of them are for you, Alok, but I would take the opportunity to ask these questions to others as well. Now, the first one is actually about AI. I mean, I was thinking about it, why can't, we are saying men and women as allies, or women and men as allies, but actually it could be tomorrow that, there's AI also in the mix, right? So, a lot of entry-level jobs have just gone. So what are your, quick thoughts, less than 30 seconds from each one of you, what can people do here to land a job in a world that is being increasingly threatened by AI?
I think upskilling is a key area. Number 2 is use AI tools for enabling yourself. Nobody can take empathy away. Empathy is something which AI can't do anything about, for example. So use AI to enable, to excel, to help you be who you want to be.
In the same lines, I would say AI is reshaping the kind of jobs that are there. And hence, of course, some of the operational entry-level manual jobs are going away. But there are other kinds of jobs that are coming up, because you can spend that time in more value-added, more client-facing, more research-focused work, more work that requires empathy, and hence geared towards what is required. I think that's what will keep you great.
Thanks. Meghna?
I think largely covered. I'm not going to repeat. Upskill is something.
So
and
I've
this
got a
is
special
evolution.
question for you, only for you.
Okay.
So how are the hiring trends in the investment industry? Question number one. You have been an early mover in this industry. So what are the gender biases? Which you have already talked about some. So maybe you can just respond to question number one.
Yeah, I think on the investment side, we are seeing, and what I would say is on a macro level, what I have also experienced is, and all of us are seeing that, there is a lot of domestic money which is coming in. So investment industry, I mean, whether it is in terms of the mutual funds or AIFs or InvITs, I'm part of an infrastructure investment trust, IndiGrid Infrastructure Trust, which is something of a new cadre, I would say. But what is basically happening is a lot of domestic money is getting channelized into these investment avenues. So something which was always thought of that the economy and especially the markets are being driven only by FIIs. Yes, FIIs movement do have an impact on the stock markets, but the investment industry, insofar as the kind of jobs which are getting created, insofar as the kind of investment avenues which are coming up, are all domestic driven. And there is so much more potential that is right now out there with the kind of money that we are seeing. I think in terms of trends, I would say that it is, to be honest, just the beginning. The kind of investments which are required across various sectors, I mean, I represent the infrastructure sector. I have spent almost 20 years in infrastructure. So just this sector, the kind of numbers and the kind of investments are required, I think all will be channelized through these investment avenues only. So I would say that there is, it is moving in a very positive direction, and the investment trends, investment jobs, etc., are all a byproduct of this movement that we are witnessing right now.
Any numbers there? How many jobs are there?
I don't think I'll be able to quote any jobs per se.
Yeah.
And coming to the biases, to be very honest, it's not, while I've quoted a couple of examples, I think I also resonate with a lot of thoughts here in terms of it is ultimately the attitude, okay? And it is ultimately the competence, the attitude, the purpose, and, the dedication that you work with, okay? Because if that is in the right direction, these biases will be there. It is something which, and perhaps I will also be displaying certain biases, right? I mean, it is pretty human that these biases exist. But the idea is, I think, what the theme which we are talking about is to understand that, and with the purpose and the direction to continue going about it.
Right. Now, there's just two questions. I'll go for a 20-second round for each of these questions. And probably for the first one, Anjali ji, if you permit, I'll skip you because you've already said work-life integration. So Himoli has asking a question that, there's how do you get work-life balance right for both genders? So, she's mentioned we should look at it as work-life integration. If you can expand on that very quickly.
Yeah, I'll say have your priorities sorted. If you want a balance, you will make it work. Don't be afraid of asking for more from both the sides, from work as well as personal life, because on both the sides you require support. Yeah.
Thank you.
If I may just add, and I actually agree with Anjali where she said that there is nothing like work-life balance, okay? It is ultimately your choice, right? It is your choice. These are your priorities. So you decide and be accountable for it. I mean, whatever choice you make, you are accountable for it. As long as you are in sync with that thought process, I think you will be at peace. The other only aspect which I think is, setting boundaries. What generally happens and early on is we don't set boundaries. Okay, and that is basically where, and it starts from early on, that if this is the particular time or this is particular thing which you want to do, you can always set it as a boundary. There will always be exceptions. There will always be urgencies which you will need to adhere to, but it cannot become just a habit, right? So I think, and this is a learning process, it is a learning process right from when you start, I would say as a person, setting boundaries, whether it is with your spouse, whether it is with your family, whether it is with the organization that you work in. It's a very important aspect which if we are able to learn, life just becomes slightly easier, I would say.
Great. Thank you. So this question was actually meant for Alokji from Mr. Darpan Agarwal. And so there are two questions, but I'm going to take only one, Darpan. So we'll start with Alokji, like, just 20 seconds for each one of you. What's the most rewarding human investment you have made in your career, where you saw long-term growth and returns in their personal journey?
Okay, I think two primary drivers or engine for delivering outcomes in an organization are skill and will. And at HDFC, we have significantly and constantly invested, rather over-invested in skill. And people in CFA Society will stand for me that at one time we had 1,000 people done CFA Foundation program in our organization. And we actively encourage and reimburse the program, CFA fees, CFP fees, and multiple other certifications. So I have no hesitation that we believe the best way to serve your investor is to put your best brain before your investor again and again, every time and 1,000 times and multiple times. And that can happen only when you have skilled workforce. And skilled workforce will deliver exceptionally good advice and help them to get their asset allocation right. And that's the way they will be able to create long-term wealth for themselves. So I think this has given a clear milestone, and that's why today our organization is held in a very high esteem. Second thing is the culture of the organization, which is always on the drawing board, and we constantly reinvent ourselves. We're a little paranoid about it, but we all the time we get it right, and that's why the brand gets what it gets. So I think will more comes from there, and that is about being very clear that we have to deliver exceptional services all the time. So I think these two clear, broad wireframe help us to be what we are today.
Thank you. Meghna? So, and if you have got a story also, 20 seconds, so the time is going to be...
No, I think a lot of things as an organization that we have been doing, hiring a lot of graduate engineer trainees, because I come from the power sector, power transmission, to be honest. So a lot of women GETs, graduate engineer trainers, is what we try and recruit, and it is something as leadership, all of us design these programs. There is a particular DEI, all the DEI initiatives are being taken in our organization as well, more from a culture building perspective. So that is another thing which comes to my mind. And going back to the GETs that I was talking about, this is, I think, the second or the third year when the GETs have joined in, and even from the first year, these women GETs continue to be there. And when I say GETs, they are all placed at far-flung areas, right from Jammu and Kashmir to Northeast, which is where our power transmission projects are located. So, taking a lot of these initiatives before hiring them in terms of if they are going, in these remote terrains, how exactly are we going to take care of their safety? And a very basic thing, are there even toilets which are there for women, okay, even at these areas for that matter. These sort of things are something which we take it for granted, but they need to be thought about and taken, put it into action for that matter. So a lot of these initiatives, to be honest, I have been part of. I'm also leading some women initiatives within my organization, within the team level. And I think what the question which has been posed, one thing that comes to my mind is how sensitive am I irrespective of gender, do I look at the other person only as a human being, irrespective of the role that that person is into? So whether that, role is at a hierarchy level, non-hierarchy level, am I able to look at that person as a human being without gender A and second role bit? And I think that is something which has helped me and the teams that I have been working with.
Right.
Thanks.
Is there on your company's website, is there a way people can apply for being a trainee?
Sure, there is.
Okay. Can we go to Alokita? So you want to say something?
I just want to tell that in adding to the will part, we are also great place to work certified organization, and my colleague Hemal is here. She leads the initiative just to bring the, and I think that kind of certification will also help organizations to look at their framework for women empowerment along with the ESG and other similar frameworks.
Right. And if they want to apply, they can contact Munmun.
Munmun and Hemal also.
Sorry. Yeah. Alokita, please.
Great. So I'll possibly give examples from diversity perspective, diversity of thoughts, diversity of experiences, diversity of personal characteristics. So in my team, we usually in investment side and investment com side, we want to usually try to hire people with a couple of years experience so that then they're up to speed and they can start on the delivering on the role right away. However, my interaction with a lot of freshers who joined from the campus made me believe that they add a lot of value in terms of the fresh perspective, the questioning that they bring to us. And hence, there was a conscious lift in terms of the structure that we had in our team as compared to having just 3-4 people who were freshers. Now I have close to 50% people who have experience ranging from 0 to 5%, so more on the junior side. And they add a lot of fresh perspective, technical competence in terms of technology also, that mix of investment and technology, AI. We are moving very fast pace on AI. At the same time, we looked at the numbers for gender diversity. We've done various enabling trainings, workshops, looked at various biases. And I think 3 years back, my team's gender diversity was around 37%. Now it is at 47%. So that leapfrog, I think that's the investment that you make in your people, and then you get the right diverse team with a very high engagement. So, yeah.
Okay, Fidelity website has got any positions? Okay, thank you. Anjali ji.
So I work in a very different industry, in the executive search space. And so while in our company, which is a global search firm, I think the ratio of women to men is 70 to 30. So we have no complaints at all.
Okay.
But I think on a more serious note, what in the hiring process that we look at, where we pay a lot of attention to diversity of thought at leadership level. So if you look at a CXO team of an organization, you will have, apart from the functional responsibilities that the CXO team has, there is also what is the leadership input that they're bringing to the decision table. How are decisions being made in the organization? What is the diversity of that team? So you'll have somebody who's perhaps thinking strategy. You'll have somebody who's driving strategy through the organization. You'll have a role where somebody is bringing different thought processes together and making sure everybody is understanding the different dimensions to arrive at that decision. So you have different roles that each member of the CXO team plays. So as a search consultant, I have to ask that question to the board or to the CEO, what is the role? Let the CFO be, we know what a CFO does, but what role do you want that person to play at the decision table? And that diversity of thought is what an organization needs to arrive at an optimal decision making.
Fantastic.
So that's really the inputs that we sort of try and bring into the process.
Right. Well, thank you very much. I think we have come to a closure of this panel. Thank you so very much for the patient listening and for all these questions, even though they were a little late. And thank you so much for being here, for sharing your thoughts, your wisdom. That's it for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay.
I call on stage Nimisha to felicitate the panelists and the moderator.
So Alok sir wants to make a quick offer to CFA Society. Yeah.
Not to a candidate. Otherwise, somebody will think, how have you selected so far, so fast? So first of all, I'm very impressed with the mentorship, work, and we have been privileged to have some of the mentees in our premises. There was a program which runs. So maybe if CFA Society and Anil especially, you have been so kind to us always and giving this opportunity, I see a possibility of collaboration where CFA Society mentorship framework, if it can be templated and strengthened further, maybe I would request my senior colleague Munmun Roy to work with you and formalize that entire template and framework for CFA Society, which can showcase in a global framework, global arena of CFA world, where you can showcase that this is how we have done in India to significantly improve the entire mentorship program.
Please stay on stage for our token of appreciation. Our token of appreciation. Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful panel. I call on stage Dr. Monica Chopra, who is the Director for Women in Finance Initiative, for closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Khyati. So we had a great evening today, and of course, diversity is the talk which we had for the entire all the sessions which were conducted today. And talking about diversity, although I'm from Delhi, but I don't have the right to say that, because if we observe nature, so if you go out and observe nature, which I think Mumbai people have an edge over Delhiites to observe, so diversity is the very base of our nature, of our existence. So many species, so many plant species, animal species around that. So I think it also needs to be a part of our social structure. And going ahead, I think we at CFA Society and CFA Institute are committed towards promoting this as a way forward for the society also. So thank you so much, all of you. I will start with thanking our keynote speaker, Lieutenant Colonel Tripti Arya, for all her insights which she has given today. I was really having goosebumps hearing to what she was saying about the army life, and we can't imagine being on the other side, how tough it is, the discipline, the integrity, the ethics. And I think if you put us in the boot camp on army, we will not talk about work-life balance anymore. So thank you so much, Lieutenant Colonel Tripti, for all the insights which you gave us today. The Power Packs panel which we had today, I think it was very insightful on the discussions which we had on the personal lives of all the panelists, and how they have conveyed the message on men and women being allies and not, there is no competition. It's a world of collaboration altogether. So thank you so much for all the speakers who were there today. Anil being the moderator of the keynote speaker, it was amazing to hear his thoughts on how, all the fun element also which he brings in along with the serious discussion. And Shreenivas being so powerful moderator for the session today. I think panel discussions generally get boring, but the way he was leading it didn't allow us even a minute to get diverted towards anything. So thank you so much for being excellent moderators for the sessions. I thank the society overall, the institute for giving this platform to people to meet and discuss about this agenda. We have investment conferences, we have so many talks about financial services as a sector, but diversity is one thing which is less talked about. But yes, the society and the institute have given this as a platform to bring forward this agenda to not only to the financial services, but across industry altogether. So thank you for that. I'll thank all my directors today, the board of directors who have joined us for this and supporting this entire initiative. There is a lot of support which goes from the board, which helps us to drive this challenge altogether. So thank you all the board members for being here today. Of course, I cannot express in words how much I have to thank my volunteers because, it's not a paid job. It's like beyond our, office hours. So like we can have Tripti for our, for that discussion. We said that she says 2 days is sufficient enough, but we are volunteering on those days. So it's like continuously engagement for the purpose of the society. So thank you so much, my volunteers, Khyati and Nimisha, who are there today. A huge round of applause for them, I think. And of course, thank you, Anil, for being not only our volunteer, but our mentor for this initiative. And we look forward for more support from you. Thank you, Alok, for offering this, this entire new, platform which we can create for the mentorship. And I'm sure we will take it forward in a very positive way. So we look forward to more and more engagement with the companies on this entire initiative forward. Of course, I cannot end this without thanking my staff who has been so cooperative for all the activities which have been taken up. They are tied up with so many things, but still, whenever we want them, they are there. Thank you, Somik, for being support for all this. It would not have been possible without your support. So thank you, all of you, and wish you all the best for the year ahead. And take care. We will catch up again and meet on this platform again and again, growing again. Thank you.
I wouldn't say a word more to keep you away from the dinner. Just we would request you all to come, all ladies to come here for a group photo for capturing some memories. Dinner is open and happy Women's Day in advance. Thank you all.